They're experienced hikers. They know the terrain. Then they vanish. Entire search teams scour the area, but they find nothing. Days later, sometimes even weeks, these missing people are discovered, but not where they should be. They're found miles away in places that defy explanation. Sometimes alive, but with no memory of the time they've lost. Often, they are found dead, with strange injuries, and the most chilling detail: their clothes neatly folded nearby. Shoes removed, their personal items left behind. Even search dogs fail to track them. It's happened over 1,600 times in North American national parks. There's a pattern. A disturbing pattern. David Paulides, a former police detective, calls it Missing 411, and after researching these cases, even the skeptics admit something very strange is happening in our national parks. But is it supernatural? Or is there something else going on that we simply don't understand? David Paulides and the research. David Paulides, a former police detective from San Jose, California, had no interest in mysterious disappearances when he first started his career. He was a member of SWAT with a focus on solving real crimes, but in 2008, things changed. Park rangers approached him, asking him to look into a strange series of disappearances happening in national parks. At first, Paulides was skeptical. However, as he dug into the cases, he began to notice disturbing patterns no one else was tracking. In 2012, Paulides published his first book in the Missing 411 series, detailing these mysterious disappearances, which quickly gained a large following. The series has since grown, along with a number of documentaries, and Paulides has become a controversial figure. While some are fascinated by his research, others criticize him for cherry-picking data and ignoring more mundane explanations. But the core of Paulides' investigation is a specific set of criteria he uses to define these disappearances. He doesn't include all missing persons cases. Rather, he focuses on those that meet specific strange conditions. 1. The person goes missing in a national park or wilderness area. 2. They vanish in circumstances that make no sense, often in broad daylight, with no trace left behind. 3. Massive searches are launched, but initially, nothing is found. 4. They are later found in locations that had already been searched, often far from where they disappeared. 5. The conditions surrounding their disappearance are marked by unusual details, strange weather, unexplained animal behavior, or odd patterns in their belongings. 6. Search dogs can't pick up the scent or behave strangely during the search. With over 1,600 documented cases, it's clear there is a pattern. However, the National Park Service doesn't keep a centralized database of missing persons. Paulides himself had to file numerous Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) requests to obtain the records from individual parks. Some parks even refused to provide information, adding layers of frustration to his investigation. Critics argue that Paulides focuses on the strange cases, while ignoring the many that are more easily explained by typical accidents or misadventures. Yet even skeptics acknowledge that some cases Paulides covers genuinely seem beyond explanation. Disturbing cases. Let's look at some of the most disturbing cases that David Paulides has documented. These examples show just how strange and inexplicable these disappearances are. Case 1. Dennis Martin, 1969. Dennis Martin was just 6 years old when he disappeared on June 14, 1969, in the Great Smoky Mountains. He was playing with his brothers when he ran ahead around a bush, but he never came back. A massive search effort was launched, involving over 1,400 people, Green Berets, and the FBI. The search continued for 10 days, but no trace of Dennis was found. One of the most disturbing details: Dennis's father heard a tremendous, sickening scream shortly after Dennis disappeared, and a key family member later reported seeing a disheveled man in the woods around the same time. Despite hundreds of trained searchers and an expansive search area, nothing was found. How could a 6-year-old child vanish without a trace, especially when searchers were on the scene within an hour? 2. DeOrr Kunz Jr., 2015. DeOrr Kunz Jr., a 2-year-old, disappeared on July 10, 2015, from the Timber Creek campground in Idaho. His parents had been with him, and when they turned around, he was gone. The search began immediately, and an extensive search continued for weeks, but no trace of DeOrr was ever found. Not a shoe, not a piece of clothing, not a single sign of where he had gone. Even search dogs couldn't pick up a scent beyond the immediate area. At one point, the parents became suspects, but they were never charged. The questions are haunting. A 2-year-old can't travel far or fast, and the search began almost immediately. So why was there no evidence found? Was it an abduction? If so, by whom in such a remote area? Was it an animal attack? But there was no blood, no remains, just nothing. Case 3. Geraldine Largay, 2013. Geraldine Largay, 66, was an experienced hiker on the Appalachian Trail. On July 22, 2013, she went missing in Maine. A massive search was launched, but nothing was found. 2 years later, in 2015, her remains were discovered 3,000 feet off the trail. She had survival gear, a water purification system, and even kept a journal for 26 days after her disappearance, writing that she tried to self-rescue but couldn't find the trail. What's most strange? The area where she was found had been searched multiple times. The trail was well marked and multiple helicopters had passed overhead. How could she have been missed? Case 4. Stacey Aris, 1981. Stacey Aris, a 14-year-old, disappeared from a photography trip with her father on July 17, 1981. In Yosemite National Park, she had gone ahead on a trail to take some photos, but when her father followed minutes later, she was gone. Stacey's camera was found abandoned, but strangely, there were no photos of anything unusual. One lens cap was found in one place, and the film was found separately. The trail was direct, and there was no way for her to have gotten seriously lost. Yosemite has a history of disappearances, with many similar cases. Could it be that something sinister is happening here? Case 5. Keith Parkins, 1952. Keith Parkins, just 2 years old, disappeared from his yard during a cold winter day in Ritter, Oregon, on February 10, 1952. He was found 12 hours later, 5 miles away up a mountain, barefoot, with sub-freezing temperatures, but alive and unharmed. How did a 2-year-old travel 5 miles, uphill, in the snow? Keith later said that a wolf had carried him, but wolves had been extinct in the area for years. This incident doesn't make sense. The patterns. David Paulides has identified several patterns among these disappearances. Let's look at the most prominent. Pattern 1. Water nearby. Many bodies are found near water, even when the person disappeared miles from any water source. The connection remains unexplained, but drowning is often ruled out. Pattern 2. Boulder fields, granite areas. Disappearances often occur in granite-heavy, rocky areas. Could magnetic anomalies be at play? It's a theory, but still unproven. Pattern 3. Berry patches. Several victims have been found near berry patches or areas with edible plants. Why this recurring detail? Pattern 4. Bad weather immediately after. A disappearance often leads to severe weather within hours, storms that wash away evidence and hinder search efforts. Is this coincidence or part of the pattern? Pattern 5. Search dogs acting strange. Experienced search dogs often stop tracking suddenly, acting confused or frightened. What causes this? Pattern 6. Shoes, clothing removed. Victims are sometimes found without shoes, or with clothing neatly folded nearby. Some have been found alive and don't remember removing their clothes. Hypothermia is a possible explanation, but it doesn't always fit. Pattern 7. Impossible distances. Young children have been found miles away from where they disappeared. The terrain is often difficult to traverse, and there's no clear path for them to have taken. Pattern 8. Areas already searched. Victims are sometimes found in areas that were searched thoroughly, almost as if they were placed there. Pattern 9. Intelligence, fitness. Many victims are highly intelligent or exceptionally fit. They don't match the typical profile of a lost hiker. Pattern 10. Memory loss. Those found alive often have no memory of the events, or they report feeling compelled to go somewhere. Missing hours or days, they can't explain what happened. Now let's explore some rational explanations. Explanation. Number 1. Confirmation bias. Some argue that Paulides is focusing only on the strange cases and ignoring the mundane ones. While that may be true, even accounting for bias, some of these cases are undeniably bizarre. Explanation number 2. Wilderness is dangerous. It's easy to get disoriented in the wilderness. Terrain can be challenging, and weather changes quickly. Wild animals are a real threat. Most disappearances have conventional explanations. Explanation number 3. Paradoxical undressing. Hypothermia can cause paradoxical undressing, where a person feels hot and removes their clothes. This phenomenon could explain some of the odd cases. Explanation number 4. Search limitations. Search efforts, no matter how extensive, can miss things. Terrain is vast and weather often destroys evidence. It's not sinister, it's just difficult to search these areas effectively. Explanation number 5. Child behavior. Lost children sometimes hide from searchers out of fear. In an adrenaline-fueled panic, they may travel farther than expected. Their small bodies are harder to find. Explanation number 6. Search dog issues. Tracking dogs can't always pick up scents, especially in difficult terrain or inclement weather. It's a limitation, not a supernatural phenomenon. Explanation number 7. Predator behavior. Mountain lions and bears are known to ambush their prey, and they can carry small humans long distances. Could this explain some disappearances? Explanation number 8. Statistical clustering. Millions of people visit national parks every year. With that volume, some disappearances are statistically inevitable. The clustering of incidents might appear mysterious, but it may simply be a statistical quirk. Conclusion and theories. So, what's really happening? Most of the disappearances likely stem from tragic accidents, but some do have strange details that remain difficult to explain. The theories range from mundane to bizarre: natural causes, predators, disorientation, and even potential government or military involvement. Could some of these disappearances have a supernatural or interdimensional explanation? Paulides suggests the possibility of Bigfoot, though he never explicitly says it. But in the end, the truth is likely a mix of explanations. The wilderness is a dangerous place, and it's full of mysteries we still don't fully understand. We need to take these cases more seriously, though, and investigate the patterns more systematically. Families deserve answers. These are real people, real families. They deserve thorough investigations, not just speculation. So, what do you think? Have you had a strange experience in a national park? Felt watched? Seen something inexplicable? Or maybe you have an explanation for one of these cases. Share it in the comments. Let's figure this out together. And if you're planning a national park trip, make sure to tell someone your route, carry communication devices, and trust your instincts. The wilderness is beautiful, but it doesn't care about your plans. Stay safe.